Hi, everybody. I'm going to introduce you to Sora. This is a resource that some of us are familiar with. We actually got access to this during the pandemic, and we continue to have a subscription to this. And Sora is a free online library for kids. It actually functions like a library where they can borrow a certain amount of books at a time, and then they have to be returned, but it's all digital. It allows them access to tons of books in a digital format. Some of them are audiobooks, and some of them are books you would just read like on a Kindle or even a laptop or a phone. So here's how Sora works. They can click on the little guy on Sora. The only thing to remember is that the name of our school is the Francis T. Bresnahan School. If they just do Bresnahan School, they won't get in. So they're going to click on Sora, and they're going to get to this page. Then they click here that says My School's in MLS, Massachusetts Library System's Commonwealth eBook Collection. In other words, does your school belong? Yes, we do. So click on that. And then it's going to ask you to select your school. Since I've been in it before, it's kind of bypassing it. There's a spot where you have to click and it says Francis T. Bresnahan School. And then you have to go in again. And this is where the kids need to know that it's Francis T. Bresnahan. And they have to scroll all the way down. And then they'll find Francis T. Bresnahan. And then they click sign in. So we'll click on their name. And since I've been on this, it's going to go to my landing page. But I'll start you off. So these are the books that I have borrowed. I'll show you how you get them. So you go to Explore, and there are a couple of these titles are called the always available titles. There's over 1,000 of them. So I'll click and you can see them all. So up here it shows audiobooks, ebooks. Okay. So I'm going to scroll through this and find a book. So let's say a child wants to borrow this book on great white sharks. So they would click on borrow. And what it does is it takes a copy of it, and I'll show you in a second. And so this one is not an audiobook. There's no ability to read it to you. I'll show you ones that are audiobooks. But when you click here, you can now read the book online. So this is what it looks like. So it's actually really good, crisp, clear, easy to see. This particular book does not have an audio component, so kids are truly reading here. But the pictures are great. The text size is pretty good, but it's really crisp and clear, and it looks just like a book. So when they're done, I'll show you I'm going to go to my shelf. So down here it says shelf. So Explore is how you find books. And the shelf is you are allowed to have 5 books on your bookshelf. So these are the 5 different books that I've borrowed and been playing around with. And you'll see here, due in 20 days. So you get the book for 20 days, and then after 20 days, they take it back. And so that's the part that's, like a library. You don't own it forever. You're just borrowing it. So if I'm done with this book, I'm going to click Options, and I can renew it and get it in 20 more days, or I can return it. They can also send it to a device if they want to send it to another device. So there's different options here. So I'll click return, and then it checks to make sure I want to return it. And now you'll see on my shelf are just 4 books. So there is a maximum of 5 books at a time that you can keep on your bookshelf. However, I'll go back and show you. You can go to home. Go to Explore. You can hold books. So if you see something that you want, you can put a hold on it. And when the book becomes available, when somebody else returns it, they will send it to you. So I'm right now in the always available section. That's here. But these are the always available where it says no wait. But then there's other books down here that in these other sections. that you can borrow as well. So let's say I want to go to Massachusetts Book Awards. I'll see what those 45 books are. And okay, so let's say I want to borrow this. I'm going to show you how a hold works. Since I only have 4 books, it let me borrow it. And this has taken a while because it's a chapter book. And again, I click in the white space and now I have this full page view of the book. So now I should have, I'm going to go to my shelf and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books on my shelf. Okay. I'm going to go and try to borrow this book and it will tell me that I've reached my limit and you have to return one before you can get a new one. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to find a book that is not available. I'll give you a second. Just give me a second to find the books that are not available. So you can see all of these. Okay, let me see if anything in here. New books are usually not available. Okay, I'm having a lot of luck today. Sometimes you're going to see, and I can't find one, where you go to click it and it will tell you that the book is not available now, and they'll put it on hold. And then that means when somebody else returns it, it will come to your preference. So I'll show you that. This is shelf. I have some books on hold. So these were books that I wanted, but when instead of saying borrow, it said unavailable or something. And then I can click on it. And so in 2 weeks, I can get Cool Bean, and 4 weeks, I can get Tremendous. And you can keep 5 books on your hold shelf. So as a teacher, if you have a book you want to read in November, you could search it you could go to the Explorer and search for the book, see if they have it. Let me go to Thanksgiving. Okay, so here's an example of a placehold. That means it's not available right now, and you could put it on your hold shelf. So if you wanted to read this, you could click it. I've reached my loan limit. But if you wanted to place a hold, you click here, and when somebody returns the book, they'll just send it to you automatically, as long as you have less than 5 books. So that's how the borrowing part works. And that is for both kids and teachers. I think the thing that I like about this, there's a lot of learning curve if you're going to have kids do this. And I will probably, in the middle of the year, introduce this in the library. But for you as a teacher, if you wanted to read, where's my shelf? A book aloud to the class. Like, this is a beautiful book. If you've never read this is called Jabari Jumps, and I borrowed it. And this is a great mentor text for, I'm sorry, I was already in the book. It's a great mentor text for personal narrative writing. So you could project this on the whiteboard and use it to read aloud to your class. So Jabari Jumps is a great book for personal narrative writing. But you can see that the pictures and the words and everything are very accessible to students if you were to project that. So as a teacher, you could use it that way. And as students, once they get into their accounts, they can be reading online here, and they can send it to a device or log in on any device if they're logged in through their school Google account, they can get into Sora and have access to all of these books. So Sora is a great resource that I think has a lot of potential. It does have a learning curve, I think, for getting the kids up and running. But if that's something you're interested in exploring, I found it to be great. One last thing I'll say before I finish is this is important to set. your preferences when you go to look. So if you clicked on just available books, you won't be able to do holds. So you want to do everything. And then you can sort by popularity, or you can sort by all of these things. Popularity is probably the easiest. That's the default. You can change the language. There is not too many choices, but you can change the language if you have a child that needs to read in a different language or would benefit from that. But this is where you really want to change it, is you want to change it to juvenile, the audience to juvenile. Otherwise, they're going to get into books that aren't meant for them. And then you click apply, and it will, everything default format. I'm sorry, you can do just audiobooks or ebooks. I'll show you that. I don't want audience, I want all. Okay, so let's apply that. Okay. And sorry, I just got to change my preferences back. Okay, so I will now show you, click apply. What was I going to show you? Oh, ebooks. Okay, so if I wanted to find ebooks, I can change my format to just ebooks. So this is where they will read to you. Okay, so I'll show you this one. So let's say kids are going to read about green turtles, and you borrow it. Oops, it's going to make me return. Let me return this one. Okay. And then this is nice. It takes you right back to where you were trying to borrow. So now it lets me borrow it. And this is an ebook. So this will have a play button. Takes a second to load. And it will read to, so it's an audible.
Abdo Kids, Little Activists, Endangered Species. Help the Green Turtles by Grace Hansen. Abdo Publishing Company.
All right, so you get the idea. Here's the page.
Green turtles. Green turtles are sea turtles.
Okay, so that is another option for you for kids to have an audiobook. So with Sora, there are no, I'm going to go back to my home. There are no activities. There's none of those things. I'm still learning about this thing here. But it is just truly an online resource. Okay, so if you're willing to explore this, I think there's lots of good potential.